And the mug like this is functional. The logo's on either side. And the best part about it is it holds what you put in it. You know what I mean?
No leaks.
And also it holds the temperature. It's not one of the it goes the mug goes straight up, doesn't go out. Mm-hmm. So it holds the temperature.
Rich, let's say I have a handful of Reese's Pieces. Would the cup hold those?
It would definitely hold that.
Whoa. Okay.
We've been talking to our radio audience who are joining us right here. We've been talking about our merchandise store, richeisenstore.com. We're selling a bunch of stuff. Because I own my business. I own the show now. We're here on Peacock, NBC Sports on Peacock, just trying to keep things going. And my next guest is owning his own world. Content is king. He's got his own brand after many, many, many moons on ESPN. And he's joining us here to talk about everything in the National Football League season. He's got his own podcast that's out right now. And here to talk about all that with the green grass growing underneath his feet is Trey Wingo. How are you, Trey?
Richard, first of all, it is
Yes,
a delight. And
Yes,
let
sir.
me just say,
Yes,
the
sir.
best part of waking up is Rich Eisen in your cup.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
I'm
that,
excited.
Trey. Now,
And I got to tell you, my
Yes.
first job in television
Yes.
in the late 80s,
Yep.
I was a page at NBC. And one of the first things they had me do at 30 Rock was work in the NBC store
Yes.
from the day after Thanksgiving till Christmas Eve without a day off, and we were pushing Today Show mugs, Golden Girl T-shirts, Late Night with David Letterman hats. So I appreciate the enthusiasm with which you were selling those products.
So were you the basis of Kenneth the Page, Trey? Did you have the jacket and everything?
Well, that was the job. I mean, I think that they probably thought of other people besides me.
You sure?
But that was the first gig. We were given guided tours of the building, man.
I was an intern for the CBS Evening News, Trey, when Dan Rather and Connie Chung hosted it together. And I was stuck on a desk answering phones and people just complaining because it was the summer of OJ's preliminary trial and they were live with Dan and Connie and they were preempting The Price is Right and all of these soap operas and people were calling up livid and that was my job. And then I would look up and I would watch the intern with the medical correspondent, chief medical correspondent at the time was Dr. Bob Arnott, if that name rings a bell.
Absolutely.
And his intern was named Melissa Stark, and she was traveling all over the country and doing actual work, and she's, to this day, lords that over me. Stinks.
Well, listen, see, this
Stinks.
Always treat your interns with respect.
That's true.
Right? Because
You never know.
we're all sort of gophers and interns.
And pages.
You meet the same people on the way up as you do on the way down.
That's right.
And real quickly,
Yes.
who was that said Reese's Pieces?
That would be T.J. Jefferson, Rich Eisen Show, social media grandmaster.
Okay,
Trey.
you are the first person in the history of the world to pronounce that Reese's Pieces. It's Reese's Pieces, man.
Oh,
Yes.
Come on, dude. Like, where are you from that you say Reese's Pieces?
Altoona, Pennsylvania.
that's how we said
Having spent 9 months in Allentown, I get it now.
Well,
That's
let's-
on the other side of the
Hold
state,
on,
though.
let me turn this in a proper direction for all of us here. Okay, let's place that in the half-forgotten history of the Rich Eisen Show. Trey, how about that?
Boom, cha, Rich with a win.
Why are you calling your podcast Half-Forgotten History, Trey? What's that all about?
Real simple, and thank you for allowing me to talk about that.
You're welcome, Trey.
You know, Rich, if you do this long enough, and you hang around with guys like you hang around with Michael and Kurt and
Yes.
Mooch and all those guys, and I've hung around with, Brewski and Damien and Ryan Clark and Stink and a bunch of other people, Darren Woodson.
Randy Moss.
Half the best stories
Yes.
that you hear never make air. They're all the stuff you talk about when you're in the green room before the camera and the
Yes.
lights go on
Yes.
or the mic is on.
Yes.
Or when you're out to dinner at the Super Bowl and someone drops a bomb story on you over a cocktail or two and you're
Yes.
like, man, we got to tell those stories.
Yes.
So the whole premise of the show is, thanks to our sponsors, State Farm, McDonald's, and Maker's Mark.
Look at you.
We're chopping it up. We're just sitting down talking ball about some of the greatest things in the greatest moments in the game that I know
Yes.
and you probably know, but not everybody else knows.
So there has to still be stories with you just mentioning, the golden arches and things like that. You still have to keep under wraps, I imagine.
Oh yeah, we had Darren on, Darren Woodson,
Yes.
and I said, "What's the story you can tell about the Cowboys of the '90s without getting yourself or your best friends arrested?"
Yes. Well, we told
Can you
a story.
imagine the Cowboys of the '90s in social media?
Oh my
I mean, can you imagine?
God, Trey. Do we tell the Kevin Barlow story that Mooch once told off the air? We actually got on the air because we actually had Matt Willig, the player turned actor. You've seen many times in the old "What's in Your Wallet" commercials, the Capital One commercials. Plays one of the Vikings in it. At any rate, I'll tell this story. What the hell?
Yeah, why not?
It's a new audience on Peacock too. They might not know it.
Of course.
So Mooch told this story. This is one of those one of those stories that you can't tell on the air. And Mooch would never tell it, refused to tell it. He wouldn't tell it because he's, above board. But he has told the story.
Right.
Kevin Barlow, the old running back of the San Francisco 49ers, was homesick a lot. And he was on his cell phone all the time. And one time, Kevin Barlow comes into the office to complain about the fact that Matt Willig and the offensive lineman were so upset by him being on his cell phone all the time, they confiscated it from him and then stuck it where Matt Willig's, the sun does not shine on Matt Willig. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Well,
and that's
actually,
that's why they invented phone soap. By the way,
yes, indeed. Well, I guess the proper preposition for it would be up, which is where they stuck it. And and I told this story on the air. I had Willig tell this story. Mooch was so upset that the story was told on the air, especially since the punchline of the story that was confirmed is that Mooch demanded Willig, after demanding if it was true or not, confirming the truth of this sordid tale, made Willig give the phone back to Barlow, who was 60 seconds later seen making a phone call from it.
Please tell me he had handy wipes.
I don't believe, I don't know.
Well, it's been 90s.
That's the story, and I'm sticking to it. That was the story.
Well,
so you should have Mooch on your show.
him.
Have Mooch on. He is filled with those stories. Oh,
I plan on it.
Gosh. How are you otherwise, Trey? Because when I left ESPN, Susie was out here working in Los Angeles, covering the Lakers. I went to an All-Star game. People asked me if I was okay. I said, yeah, I can fog up a mirror for you if you want. So how are you doing, Trey?
Look, I'm really good.
Of course you are.
I just it's fine. It is kind of funny, right? Because it's a job. It's not your life.
Right.
And I told them about a year and a half ago that I just didn't think doing the morning show was my long-term aspiration, and they asked me to do it, and I said sure. We had a 3-year contract, and I said absolutely, I will do this for 3 years, and then we'll see. And I knew pretty soon into it that it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So I went to them in May or June of 2019 and said, look, I just want to give you guys a heads up because I don't want to leave you hanging, and I don't want to be like a month before the deal is up saying I want to do something else because I feel like that would me being a bad employee. So I just wanted to give you guys as much time as possible that when my deal's up, I'm going to want to do something else. And that apparently was the beginning of my demise.
I only laugh
I thought
because
I was being a good guy about it, but whatever.
No, as I'm saying, look, what an incredible run you had, man.
Yeah.
I had, I think, only half as long a run as you did. I was there for 7 years. And so,
Wait, how long were you there?
7, that's it. 7 years.
Dude, I was there 23.
I know.
Jeez, I thought you were there much longer.
No, I was there for, I was there for 7 years, 96 to 03, and I've been with NFL Network. This is my 18th season with NFL Network.
That doesn't even seem possible to me, but that's so cool, man.
Well, just look at my hairline, Trey, and it's possible.
Yeah. Well, I could say something, but I won't. But I will say, look at my hair, because when you and I worked together, my hair was the same color, and that has
That's
left
true.
the building.
No. You've always had like this Steve Martin look with your hair, Trey. Like your hair has always been prematurely gray in a way, from my recollection.
Now, early 30s, it started to turn. Funny story, Steve Martin actually attended high school in Waco, Texas, where, of course, I went to Baylor University, also in Waco.
That's right. Okay, so let's get into who's the best team. Is it the Chiefs? What do you think? Let's talk some ball, Trey. Let's talk some ball here.
Yeah, let's do it. Listen, until somebody runs out the clock on that dude in the playoffs, why would we not say they're the best team? I mean, we saw it 3 times in the postseason last year. Double-digit leads, doesn't matter. 24 points, doesn't matter. Down 11 in the Super Bowl with 8 minutes to play, 3rd and 15, doesn't matter. So there may be a team that's better, but until someone beats that team, I don't see it.
Who's the team that can do it, though? I said one in week 4, and then I got off them, and now I'm thinking about the Bills again. I saw the way Josh Allen played in September and early October made me think, I don't know defensively. Obviously Trey White, put him on Tyreek Hill, hope for the best, and hope that you can get some sort of Jalen Ramsey-like erasure. But then there's the rest of the team that might be the issue, and Allen could give them problems. The running game concerns me, but who's that team?
I think the most honest way to answer that question, I could name 5 teams that could do it.
Yes.
But I think at the end of the day, do I think any of them will do it? And for me, the answer is no. Absolutely. Josh Allen, by the way, has been on fire the last 3 or 4 weeks. They could do it. Pittsburgh, 3 times out of 10 could probably do it. Maybe the Saints, if they meet in the Super Bowl, could probably do it. But all of those, to me, are assuming variables and possibilities. The most realistic outcome for me is what we saw last February in Miami. And I believe that the Chiefs are going to be the first team to repeat since the Pats did it in 38 and 39 Super Bowls.
So let me give you one off the books here, off the board, to use the old Joker's Wild phrase, okay?
And a triple.
And a triple. How about this one? Okay, the teams that gave the Chiefs the most problems in the playoff run last year, as we know, Tennessee gave them a nice scare in the AFC Championship game.
Twice up by 10.
Right, and obviously the San Francisco 49ers were up in the fourth quarter. So what do they have? They had a running game that was
and
particularly
a prodigious defense.
Correct. And also a quarterback that could play action you, and if with not making the mistake, beat you deep. Right? Even though I know Jimmy G missed that shot to Emmanuel Sanders.
It was wide open.
So who's got a really stout running game and line and defense and quarterback that's not making mistakes right now? What about the Cleveland Browns? What about them? By the way, I think that's your answer. You can move on if you just want that side to be your answer.
And listen, the Browns have been a great story, and Kevin Stefanski has been phenomenal, and he's done a great job. At first, I thought you were talking about Indianapolis when you're talking about good defense.
I don't know. They've been way too inconsistent for me. And Philly Riv, when you're pushing 40 and you got a toe injury that needs surgery, I think that's an expiration date that's approaching, quite frankly, for 2020.
Correct. Look, the Cleveland Browns are interesting. What we've really seen from Cleveland is a complete evolution over the last 2+ seasons, right? Because when they sort of came on the scene in Baker's rookie year, he broke Peyton Manning's rookie touchdown record, right? And now that team has completely turned to 180 and evolved into a run-first team. And we saw, let's just go back to week 3 of the regular season, Monday night game. Kansas City goes to Baltimore. Baltimore marches right down the field, takes off 6, 7, 8 minutes off the clock. Mm-hmm. They stall in the red zone, kick a field goal. They give the ball back to the Chiefs, and I think they took 2 minutes to score a touchdown. So the problem for Cleveland, in my mind, going up against, and could they do it again? They're one of a few teams I give a puncher's chance. No question about it. But you have to sustain a drive if you're a run-first team for a long period of time with no mistakes. And then you have to cash in those drives. Whereas when you're playing Kansas City, all right, we went 3 and out. We won't go 3 and out 3 times in a row. It's much easier to score the way the Chiefs are going to score than the way the Browns have sort of set themselves up to score in terms of long, sustained drives where you have to make sure you don't get behind the chains. There's not a holding penalty. There's not a illegal formation. There's not one drop pass. You know what I mean?
Right. So you don't believe in the Browns. So that side that started the whole spiel here is your answer.
I'm not going to believe it until someone does it. That's just sort of my
they just did it against the Titans. I guess so. They did it against the Titans. If they do it against the Ravens, right, and then they do it against the Giants, those are their next 2 nationally televised games. By the way, what's more 2020 than flexing out of Cowboys Niners?
You're going to say the Cowboys and Niners are out, the Browns and Giants are in.
Right. What's more 2020 than that? Right.
Nothing. But here's the thing.
Right.
You just talked about those 2 games. The Ravens aren't the Ravens from a year ago, and the problem with Baltimore is they sort of believed, okay, this one thing we did better than anybody arguably ever last year, we can do it again, which is run for 212 yards a game. And that's never going to happen. So the problem with the Ravens is they based, in my mind, they based 2020 on, okay, if we just do that again, then the other things will fall into place. Well, that thing was so singularly unique and out of whack with norms, that was the flaw in the ointment in my thought process, that you can't rely on something so incredibly outside the ordinary to happen time and time again.
So, in the NFC, who do you like? Before I let you go, Trey, which one?
Yeah.
Who comes out of it?
Well, listen, I said all along this year, and I don't know how you felt about it, but because of the offseason where we didn't have one,
right.
What was really going to help would be a team that had a sustained coaching staff in place with a quarterback in place and a proven system that works. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's still New Orleans. And Sean Payton, think about this, Rich, and I know you know this, but like over the last 2 years,
9-0.
They are 8-0 with their backup quarterback.
Well, 9-0
5-0
yeah.
last year with Teddy Bridgewater, 3-0 this year with taste some of that.
Right, exactly.
And that, to me, it shows you what the team is about and what the culture is about there. And I think that it's going to be the Chiefs, and more than likely it's going to be the Saints, and that could be a Super Bowl for the ages.
Yeah, I was counting the win against Philadelphia that I think is coming up, although I've never seen anything like that, man. Jalen Hurts could actually win this game. I shouldn't just chalk it up right here to just seeing what we've seen.
The Eagles needed to do something.
But
Carson Wentz is a project for
it.
the offseason now. You can't fix him now.
I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, so,
yeah.
What do you think? What's more likely, Wentz or Cam getting back to MVP status? What's more likely?
Who's the second name? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Cam. You know, you got
Cam.
two former MVPs within just, well, I guess, obviously Wentz was an MVP, but he was playing like one.
He would have been the MVP.
He would have been had he not gotten hurt. So
here's the thing about the Cam situation. Like, they're throwing for what? Like, last night he threw for a decent amount, but over the last 3 games, I think he threw for 76 yards. Again, that's a hard thing to sustain.
Right.
I believe if Wentz, because he's younger, and we've seen that sort of performance from him in the past, I think that Wentz, if you can fix, because part of this is mental, right? I know people have been telling me he's still messed up with the whole Nick Foles thing. And then you get sacked, 10 straight games, at least 3 sacks. He's been taken down over 50 times already. I don't care who you are. Like, Sam Darnold got roasted for, I'm seeing ghosts. Every quarterback sees ghosts if they get hit that often. See Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game in 2015 in Denver. He saw ghosts in that game. You hit any quarterback enough, things change. David Carr never survived his rookie year in 2002 when he was sacked 76 times. I mean, you can't do it. So Carson is a reboot in the offseason.
So are we on a cadence for Half Forgotten History? Is it a certain number of times a week, or catch can
Monday,
per week
Wednesday,
for the guests?
Friday.
Okay.
We just dropped our second episode with Emmett Smith today, where he talks about how he thought his marketing team had jinxed him, and the halftime speech that turned around Super Bowl 28 when they were down 13-6. And we got 3 more episodes dropping next week.
Okay, and I like the logo with the football. It's the sands through the hourglass. Very well done, Trey. I like the whole.
Thank you,
the
sir.
whole look.
I appreciate that.
You are welcome. If you need somebody on the show, I'm more than happy to sit in and do whatever you need if that's something that you're interested in, sir.
I do want to do those things. We sort of have a. Long story short, we have a commitment to do a certain thing for a while, but then after that, we're going to be sort of branching out into those kind of things. And, brother, you and I could tell some stories on our own.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Trey, anytime. Congrats on your pod and everything else going on with you.
Thanks, Rich. Always a pleasure. Happy holidays. And say it with me, everybody. Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
There you go. Thank you very much. Trey Wingo right here.
There
you go. That's Trey Wingo, at WingoZ on Twitter still. Right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.